Welcome all to the Veeder-Root Mobilized webinar series. Our subject is Beyond Boundaries, Innovation in Commercial and Industrial Solutions. We'll be hosting 4 separate webinar sessions on the subject with the following topics. Session 1 and today's topic covers wetstock management and tall tank applications. Session 2 will cover dispensing control and mobile tanker applications. Session 3 will cover integrated fleet, asset and driver management, and Session 4 will cover operational reporting and strategic insights. Hi everyone, I'm Sean McQuaid, the Product Marketing Director for EMEA, and I'm really delighted to be the host for today's session. And with me are 2 esteemed colleagues, Wetstock Capito, Commercial Director of CNR for Middle East and Africa, as well as Lars Wademeyer, Commercial Director for Fafnir for EMEA. Just to share a quick background of myself, I've been involved in providing technology solutions to the commercial and industrial sector since 2001. The past 23 years have been an amazing journey with many customer success stories. And fuel, along with today's expanded alternative energies and asset management, is my passion. Wes and Lars, would you mind sharing a short background on yourselves? Let's start with you, Wes.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean has already mentioned, my name is Wetstock, but everybody calls me Wes. I am the CNR Commercial Industrial Director for Middle East Africa. I've been with Gilbarco now for about 3 years. Prior to Gilbarco, I actually spent some time in construction for about 10 years between South Africa and West Africa, particularly Nigeria and Ghana. And then prior to that, my first sort of career, I started off in shipping and logistics, where I spent 13 years again between South Africa and Nigeria particularly. So that's about me, I think, in a nutshell. So thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Wes. Over to you, Lars.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks, Wes. Hey, yeah, my name is Lars. The last name is too complicated. It will be pronounced always different. So call me Lars. I'm in the industry since 32 years plus. And I've been in various roles all over the globe, and that gives me a wide scope of experience. And my current focus is on exploring untapped markets and finding new applications in that CNI segment, as Sean has it already outlined. A very exciting and interesting time, especially with all the changes going on in our industry. Hoping to help you also to find new ways. Back to you, Sean.
Great. Thanks, Lars. Thanks for those introductions. And just before we jump into the agenda, we're going to have a question and answer segment later on the session. If you can all just submit your questions using the questions tab on the control panel, you should find this on the right-hand side. The platform will record your questions, and when we get to the session, we'll review those questions and try and provide as many answers as possible in the time that we do have. So if we jump into the next slide, and just really to take a stock of what is wetstock management. The most widely accepted definition is as follows: the comprehensive process of monitoring and managing fuel inventory. And this includes tracking of fuel from the moment it's delivered to when it's stored in your tanks, and then when it's dispensed into your assets, whether those be vehicles or stationary assets or generator sets, etc. The goal is to detect and address any discrepancies in that process, such as leaks, theft, or measurement inaccuracies. And this is to ensure accurate fuel accounting and efficient resource usage. Effective wetstock management helps users minimize losses and optimize operations by providing them with real-time visibility into the fuel movements. So we really want to make today's session as interactive as possible. And to achieve this, we're going to run a short poll now and ask you that you select the answer that is most relevant to you. We'll discuss the results of that poll later on the session as well. Let me just launch the poll, and you should see the poll coming up at the moment. There are 5 options for you to select there. Please, can you go ahead and select one of them? I'll read the options. They are: 1, visibility of wetstock across multiple tanks and or locations; 2, repeated manual dipping and reconciliation inefficiencies; 3, manual data recording leads to inaccurate reconciliations. 4, too many components create a high-cost complex solution. Or 5, a high level of unaccounted Wetstock variances. So these are all really pains or challenges that you experience with Wetstock management currently. And if you can go ahead and just put in your selection there, we'll give everyone a chance to select their options. And again, if you go ahead and just select your options, I see we're about 50% completed, so we'll give everyone a short while longer to finish off. Again, please, if you can just select the option there, and we'll close this off in another 10 seconds and move on. Great, thank you for your participation. Let's close that and move on. So, Wes, what are the latest Wetstock management trends that we are seeing in the market today?
Yeah, Sean, I think before we get into the trends, I just maybe want to spend maybe just a couple of seconds just to sort of share and remind the audience that our Gilbarco Veeder-Root Wetstock management system and solutions really provide expanded end-to-end sort of fuel asset management capabilities. I mean, as a business, as Gilbarco, we are uniquely positioned to offer the market tailor-made solutions, providing fleet managers, even site managers, and including finance teams the power and the flexibility to efficiently manage their assets. Therefore, giving them the ability to sort of control and to monitor and to receive accurate, reporting, and including, advanced data analytics from a single point. I mean, what we're really talking about here is, leading technology that has evolved, expertise that have evolved over 150 years. That's how long Gilbarco has really been in the fuel industry, and not just in terms of what we are predominantly known for in terms of providing equipment and solution at the forecourt, but equally in measure our successes beyond the forecourt in industries such as mining, commercial road transport, marine, aviation, manufacturing, and including working with governments all across the world. Sean, as you know, innovation, continuous improvement, and sustainability really sits at the very heart of what we do and who we are as an organization. Now, to try and get back in terms of what we're seeing in the market from trends regarding Wetstock management is really more advanced digital smart data solution, that has got the capabilities to really monitor fuel stocks in real time. I mean, being able to detect any sort of slightest variance in your fuel stocks, whether it be from a leak or theft, water in your tank, even, sort of temperature compensation. I mean, that's really becoming a really more key. And I've been at the end of that, being able to provide, customer sort of reporting at this sort of advanced data analytics, that is required effectively to manage those particular sites that have been affected. I mean, if you just take a step back, think about the impact when you deploy advanced, data analytics as part of your business, when you're actually leveraging, big data to sort of dig, get deeper insights into your fuel stocks and consumption patterns, right? I mean, this will help any organization to identify fuel discrepancies. I mean, really optimize, fuel usage, and of course, improve fuel efficiencies. I mean, if you think about what we're starting to see in terms from a stats point of view, we know that in some region, up to 50% of Wetstock losses are actually incurred before the product reaches the end customer. Now, think about that for a moment. That's a lot of money that is wasted by people not being able to deploy the right technology in terms of Wetstock management. I think the other trend that we have been seeing a lot is really around automation and IoT, Internet of Things. And I think this will continue to play a huge part in our industry. And for those companies, and Sean, this is just my personal belief, for those companies that are able to integrate multiple systems to enable cloud-based solution for remote access and data sharing across multiple sites, for me, those companies are going to be able to achieve a competitive advantage. And I think the other thing that you also have to think about is really around the greater macroeconomics, right? So if you think about the environment, if you think about the economy, they are playing a huge part in terms of how companies are actually deploying technology in terms of Wetstock management. So if you just think about the economy, for instance, I mean, companies are looking to deploy technology for greater visibility, to drive efficiencies, but mainly to reduce cost. I mean, this is really about bottom line sort of impact that companies are really trying to manage. And we know there's a direct correlation between effective, Wetstock management and, and really profitability in terms of our particular industry. And to be quite frank, if you think about it, fuel is an expensive commodity, especially in our part of the world, here in South Africa, where we're actually importing a product. So whether fuel is your primary sort of revenue generator, or you're using fuel to actually produce, by implementing a robust sort of Wetstock management system, you can actually really gain valuable insight into your fuel stocks, and therefore actually minimize huge financial losses. I think one of the big aspects which has become, which we're seeing a huge talking point, is really around the environment or sustainability, right? So we know that, governments, all across the world, through their regulations, are really driving the adoption of technology within this particular space. And it's really all around, how do we protect our planet? How do we really become responsible organization in terms of making sure that our planet remains green? So you can sort of think about, if you don't deploy, you've got fuel leaks or contamination of water, or underground water in the aspect. Talk about contamination of soil. Those sort of huge environmental impacts, can have a huge, notion on organizations that are not able to deploy sort of like effective Wetstock management. So having to deploy those technologies is really, really key in terms of minimizing and mitigating that particular risk, right? So for me, in order to summarize what we're seeing from a trend point of view, I think there are really 5 key areas that one could look at. One is really around sustainability and the environment itself. And number 2 is really around, sort of like real-time monitoring, by deploying effective solutions into the systems. Automation is key, cloud-based solutions, and of course, advanced data analytics. And the beauty about Gilbarco Veeder-Root is that we actually are able to provide all these sort of 5 critical elements that we're seeing in terms of trends within this particular space. But Gilbarco is not just about, I think there's a lot more technology that we offer. We are really deploying technology, really unlock, sort of critical value for our customers. And I'm really going to sort of like look to Lars at this point to sort of maybe expand on how we're really unlocking value through technology for our customers. Lars?
Yeah, thank you, Wes. This is great. It's all about that data availability, data content, data analytics. And if we come to that piece, I'm going to show you now a little bit in depth. It's all around the data and reliable reading on depots, on tall tanks. Some many years back, the industry came to us and said, hey, can we do something similar like on a petrol side, having a magnet-restrictive probe, which is reading also on depots? Apparently, the challenge is here that this is a very long probes. You can see it on the bottom there, it's coiled, and we designed a probe which was able or is able to read and to manage 4 features in that one probe, where you normally at a depot have different installations, starting with the temperature sensors. There's 5 temperature sensors included in the probe, which is reading highly accurately. Then of course you want to know whether there's water in the tank, and that's managed not by a different device placed somewhere at the bottom, but it's simply on our probe with the water float, which is detecting the water. And of course, the most important is the product content, or how much product is in my depot tank, and that's done by the water flow. Again, this typical magnet-restrictive technology transferred as where it is standard in the petrol side to the depot. On top of that, we can also, and it's the 4th feature, we can read also density. So you can manage and monitor the quality of your product, which is essential apparently having such a high volume in these tanks. So that is all in one. We say that this is this 4-in-1 technology, 1 probe, 4 features. And the best thing is, of course, that you only have 1 installation point that you have, and that's the key element in our advantage in our value proposition here. It's maintenance free. The probe does not need maintenance, and that's one of the biggest pain points we normally find on depots, that there has been a lot of maintenance work, recalibration. There's no real recalibration necessary with our technology. It's absolutely carefree packaged. You might find situations at depots where you have difficulties, or you want to avoid downtimes when installing with wired solutions. So we have a globally tested and installed wireless solution which is working 100% reliable, which is a big advantage if needed. There's one thing which is really by heart, like Wes said, we're talking a lot about environment, and we can optionally offer you an overfill prevention, an independent overfill prevention, which is 100% detecting anything. So it's giving you the alarm you need to. It's independent of the sensor reading the product. It needs to be an ultima ratio in order to protect the environment 100%. This is one of the products which we are particularly proud about. We have been using it all over the world. And it's really a very, very solid and, again, self-monitoring, maintenance-free product. If I have not mentioned it, again, all the products are self-monitoring. As the sensor is constantly tracking whether it's working and everything's in place. If not, it will give you an alarm. And here we come to that piece which makes it so interesting. So having your data available at a screen at the depot, or on a remote access on a dashboard, on a tablet, on your mobile phone, gives you the ease of data and the management of your data. This is where we want to be. This is where we're making your life easier. We want to simplify things. We want you to be more efficient, having the focus on things which make your life and your work also profitable, and not to handle, let's say, maintenance issues or any operating things. This should be really the one where you can rely on, lay back, get the data, and manage it properly. And I believe, Sean, we have some great success stories in implementing Wetstock management, and I would be great if you can share some of those.
Excellent, exactly, Lars. I think I get very excited when I think about some of the great customer success stories that we have on this topic. There are many to choose from, but today I'd like to focus on a particular customer that realized a significant return on investment on a very small benefit seen. But that small benefit translated to a fairly large, significant win in the operation. This customer's pains were twofold. Firstly, they had no visibility on their Wetstock, and secondly, they had no automation managing their Wetstock. So we implemented a basic Wetstock management solution, which consisted of our EMR4 electronic meter register on the delivery inlet line, and an automated tank gauge in their tank farm to automate their stock level management and reconciliation process. We tracked the site for a full month to analyze the data that we were seeing and to identify any trends or discrepancies or variances that we might see over a month period. We identified that the oil company contracted to this customer was consistently delivering between 1 and 1.5% less fuel on each delivery versus what they were invoicing the customer. So after the full month, we took this to the customer, and the customer then approached the oil company, and the oil company's immediate response was, hey, this is due to temperature variances. Of course, luckily, our equipment all has temperature compensation, and that's built into our technologies. And we were using the temperature compensated volume to accurately reconcile the site. So the reasoning for the short delivery in our mind was defendable in that we were actually using temperature compensated volume. Straight after this, and within the week, the deliveries, we started noticing the deliveries had started to be about between 0.5 and 1% more than the invoiced volumes. And through this, the customer generated an annualized savings of $250,000 for that particular site. And with a total cost of ownership of equipment of only $54,000, they realized a very fast 3-month return on investment. Now that's significant, and the best part of it, this customer had 80 locations experiencing the same trends. So if you multiply that return, that annualized savings by 80 locations, you can see that this really illustrates that a small benefit can drive a significant savings. You know, it was just purely a 1.2% variance that was through delivery or under delivery by the oil company, and the company saw a massive benefit. Now, just a quick reminder to post your questions that you might have. We are going to address those questions somewhere later in the session. So I see we've got 1 or 2 questions coming through. If you can go there and post any questions that you have, and we will answer them at a later stage. Now, for the results of the live poll, we want to put up the results of the poll and have a discussion around those. So let me just share that. Should be coming up on the screen now. Great. So thank you for participating in our poll. And really, I'm really interested to see that the most selected challenge is the high level of unaccounted wetstock variances. Lars, are you surprised by that answer at all?
No, not at all. It's great. It's reflecting exactly what we see in many areas of the world. Yeah, I mean, that was the key element. Have control. Knowing means having data, and that is where there's a lot of lacking in our industry still. You would not expect this actually, but it is true. And yes, thank you for having this input here for us. And it confirms that we are on a good track here to help the industry and to support in finding new ways to manage better.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Lars. And I'm really interested to see that the second selected challenge that we got here is too many components creating a high-cost complex solution. And Lars, I think this talks to what you were talking about in your segment, is around the 4-in-1 solution. You know, we don't need multiple sensors, we don't need multiple installations. You know, the maintenance and upkeep of that and trying to just manage different devices is really a challenge for many of our customers. So the 4-in-1 probe that we talk about, with the ability to do product measurement, water measurement, temperature and density on a single device, really eliminates that complexity, and taking all that data into an easy to use cloud application where you're getting automated reconciliation. It simplifies that process quite significantly. So I'm really chuffed to see that. And then I see the rest of them coming through sort of even. So we've got some process automation there, but I think the real sort of main challenges around the complexity of the solutions, and obviously the high level of unaccounted wetstock variances. Wes, any insights on these results?
Yeah, look, I'm also not surprised. I mean, to understand sort of like the high level of unaccounted wetstock variances, and I think we are certainly seeing a lot more of that in our particular space, especially in our region, right? And it's mainly due to fuel theft and potentially as well in terms of leaks that we're seeing, especially in some of our mining spaces. And this is why I think people sort of lead towards Gilbarco to be able to provide them those solutions to be able to mitigate against those particular issues. I think in terms of the second aspect of too many components, if I just take a step, the beauty of working with Gilbarco is the fact that we actually work according to your particular needs and your particular budget. There is no sort of like one size fit all kind of solutions that we provide to customers. We want to understand your particular pain points. We want to be able to walk that journey with you, be on site to understand exactly what are the critical issues and sort of the pain points that you're trying to really to meet and mitigate at that particular point. Then allow Gilbarco, with our expertise to be able to design a solution, to be able to tailor make a solution that actually meets that particular demand. So I think in some aspects you do get a complex solution because people don't understand exactly what customers' pain points are. But we obviously take time to make sure that we engage with you, we collaborate, we understand exactly what your issues are to be able to design the kind of solutions you required for that. In terms of the others, I think they're kind of like, what we're seeing, visibility of Wetstock. I'm just looking at the first one across multiple tanks. This is why, with certain probes that we have within our particular solution set and equipment set, we're certainly able to meet that particular demand. So not fully surprised in terms of what we're seeing, Sean, and I think this is the reason why we are having this webinar today.
Great, thanks, Wes. Right, so we moving on into the question and answer section. I will just open up the questions from the audience. So the first one, thank you, Alan, for posting your question. And I think, Wes, I'm gonna present this to you. The question is, how does after-sales service sit within Gilbarco Veeder-Root's value proposition offering?
So we are quite fortunate that we have quite a number of expertise within our business. I mean, our sales function does not just end once we actually get the PO. We've actually got a very strong project management team that ensures that once we actually install and execute a project, we actually do sort of the after-sales service. We can actually make sure that the system is running for a period to make sure that your customer is happy with what we actually deployed. There's obviously continuous monitoring through our systems at base. We have reporting capabilities and data analytics capabilities to ensure that what we've actually installed is actually effective and is running efficiently for our customers. And also just ensure that we have continuous engagement with the customer so that any sort of issues or concerns that they have with the customer, they're there. The beauty about working with Gilbarco is that being a global business, we're able to meet our customer depending on where they are in the world. We're actually able to deploy resources to be able to meet that particular point. So from an after-sales service point of view, I think we are well geared, we are well positioned and uniquely positioned to be able to meet any sort of issues and concerns that the customer might have after we've actually deployed our solution sets to any problem you have on site.
Thanks, Wes, appreciate that. So we have another question from Ibrahim. Thanks, Ibrahim, for your question. Lars, I think I'm going to ask you to handle this. It says, thanks for the invitation, and kindly, we'd like to have an idea on how the TLS-4B automatic calibration is based on the LS300 dispenser cells. I think this is more a retail-focused question because it's, LS300 is a retail pump or dispenser. So I don't know if you want to handle this or if you want to take it offline, Lars.
I think we can take it offline. It's not fitting 100% in this one, I guess.
So Ibrahim, if you would like to, we'll get back to you. We'll answer you. We'll send you an email on how that works. This is more of a retail function in terms of the automatic calibration that comes through. And then we've got another question from Ali Hayek, Petro Trade, Liberia. This is around Insight 360 auto calibration and how it works and what is the requirements. Again, Ali, this is also more of a retail-focused product set. Insight 360 is our software as a service platform for our retail offering, and it's a cloud-based solution that has got the tank calibration or AccuChart in the cloud. It takes sales as well as heights of your tanks into the cloud, and it analyzes that to do automatic tank calibration, doing adjusted volumes, etc. But again, we will give you a full answer by email on the retail side. We have another question. Peter, thank you for your question. Can two tanks be connected in series, and will the system monitor both simultaneously? So monitor both in real time simultaneously. Lars?
Is that where you siphon them? Is that what you mean?
Together, yeah, in series, yes.
Yeah, it's possible. We would need to look into the exact configuration here. Apparently it will be one product, and it's just combining several tanks with the same product. Yes, that should be readable. It needs setups on the consoles, but yes, the answer is should be done.
Okay, so I agree with you, Lars. There, I think in many instances we have tank farms with 8 tanks that are joined together. We've got 8 probes in 8 probe in each tank. And on our platform, on our DataFlex 360 platform, we create what's called a virtual tank. So the 8 tanks give you an individual reading. So we monitor the individual readings for the 8 individual tanks. But we then look at for reconciliation purpose, we look at all 8 tanks put together and we compare the transactions that have gone through for that particular tank. So yes, we monitor all of those simultaneously, and we can achieve that. Great question. Thank you, Peter. So Carl has a good question. Lars, I think this is going to be directed at you. What is the lifespan of the probe, and is there a max depth or length of the probe?
What was the first one? Sorry.
What is the lifespan of the probe, and is there a max depth or length of the probe?
Okay. Yeah, good question. Thank you very much. So maximum length of the probe currently is 22 meters. That's covering actually all the tanks I know. The lifespan, I'm based here in Hamburg, Germany, so it's a little bit of German engineering, and sometimes I say over-engineered. Again, my goodness, it's not failing, the lifespan is long. I have not seen any replacement on a regular basis. So to say a number of years would not really reflect it. I know that our standard probes in the petrol side business are in service 20 plus years. Whether this is the case also for the flex probe, well, I would assume. Don't worry. I mean, it's really nice to build. It's made all of stainless steel. It's solid, very solid.
Great, thanks, Lars. So Alan's got a question. Yeah, we mentioned retail many times. Can we demonstrate the difference between retail and CNI from a use case perspective? So I think I'll take this answer. Thanks, Alan, for your question. So the technologies that we use are the same in retail or CNI. From a tank management perspective, we've got magneto-restrictive probes that measure the tanks. The difference really comes into it is around the transactions and the forecourt control, and in terms of what records the transactions. In the retail space, we have our point of sale applications and our DOMS forecourt controller, which records the transactions, and all that data then goes into a platform called Insight 360, which is designed around the retail side of things. It's focused around retail volumes. So typically in the retail space, we need to be checking things of flow and all that and adjusted deliveries because they're receiving deliveries while the trade is being taken on. In the CNI space, we've got tank probes that go in, but typically we don't necessarily have the forecourt control or the point of sale. We could be measuring the dispensing via a trade flow meter, a single flow meter on the outlet, or if we've got our transaction monitoring system, which is the subject of the next session, we can do a reconciliation. So we do the reconciliation. The data for CNI goes into a platform called DataFlex 360, which is designed around the commercial and industrial segment. It's focused around fleet. It's got a lot of asset management and fleet management, and it's not just focused on Wetstock management, which Insight 360 is really focused around the fuel, because there's no monitoring of fuels and fleets and assets in a retailer space. So I hope that answers that question, Alan. So Rian, you've asked if we can send you product info. Absolutely, we will send you more product info. Thank you for sharing your email address. Then Peter asked a question here: how will Wetstock be accounted for and managed if diesel is used on equipment without monitoring system? Wes, are you comfortable to answer this?
Sorry, just repeat the question.
How will Wetstock be accounted for and managed if diesel is used on equipment without a monitoring system?
Yeah, I think the key aspect there is that you need to ensure that you do have a monitoring system in place in order to make sure that you're actually accounting for for the diesel, for any sort of liquid around your particular site, right? So, and I think that is why Gilbarco has actually got all the various sort of product set and solution to be able to make sure that you actually account for it. So without sort of like an effective monitoring system, so i.e. you're doing sort of manual reconciliation, dipping into your tanks, then becomes also very difficult to make sure that you're actually getting the accurate sort of recording and readings that you require to do the recording of it. So for me, essentially, the deployment of technology really becomes really critical in terms of ensuring that you're actually getting the most accurate data for your waste stock management.
Yeah, thanks, Wes. And I agree with you. I think at minimum, we need to be recording the volume that is leaving the tank farm, either via a single flow meter or via multiple, dispensing point systems that can track that. And then our probes also identify delivery. So one of the things that we can do is when the probe identifies an increase in volume, it will start recording that, and the probe actually records the delivery. So we'll know deliveries that have been received, we'll know dispensing that has taken place, and we'll know the level that is in the tank. So that gives us the ability to do wet stock reconciliation, Peter. So I hope that answers your question. Right. I don't see any more questions, so I think we're going to move on from that. Thank you very much for your valuable questions and your participation. We really do appreciate your inputs. Sorry, apologies. I have a malfunction here. Just let me get to the slide. Right, so that brings us to the closeout section. And there's just two important notes before you log off. First off, the second session of the series will take place in September, and the final dates will be published shortly. So please be sure to watch your inbox and join us for the next session, which deals with the dispensing control. We're also pleased to announce that our participation at Electromining again this year. So if you are available, please come and visit us. We are in hall number 5. Stand A5. You can go online and register for free and come through and have a look at our technologies that we're talking about on our stand. Just a big thank you to Wes and Lars. Great insights, great topics covered. Really appreciate your time. On behalf of the team, thank you all for joining today. We hope you found the session informative, and we look forward to hosting you at session 2, dispensing control and mobile tank applications. Until next time, bye.